Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 508, Mr. Somich.
It's got to be a Breeders' Cup. Huzzah!
Hey now, I'm excited. This is one of our biggest shows of the year, one of our, I think, best shows of the year that doesn't involve chicanery and shenanigans. Breeders' Cup Saturday, pick 5, and not just any pick 5. A pick 5 where the middle leg is the classic, and then it goes turf sprint and sprint at the end of it. So we bypassed the mile. Woo! Thank you.
Interesting sequence. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like that we're turf sprint and the sprint in the last two races. The classic to me is a cluster. So I'm looking forward to talking through this with you. You'll see by my ticket, I'm going 6 deep in the classic, which I was kind of surprised by. Did not expect to do that when we saw the pre-entries come out, but here we are just a week, well, not even a week away. What are we, 3 days away from the Breeders' Cup Classic here? And I think it is probably the most wide open race on Saturday, which is absolutely nuts to say because we've got a lot of very wide open races, but the post draw really changed my mind about this one. Yeah.
Scratching my head because I don't understand anything you just said. Google gobble, blankety blank. That's what that sounds like. Yeah. I mean, some shenanigans. I was trying to open it up for the audience that isn't used to us, Chris, and try to tell them this is going to be serious. We're already off.
Oh, I mean, I got a 10-1 on top in the classic. That's how big of shenanigans we're going to get.
Oh, boy. Duckman's 6 deep in the classic. Patrick's 3 deep in the classic. Ed at least says he agrees. He's not telling you how deep he's going, but he is agreeing that it's deep. I went 2 deep, almost singled, because, well, you know, why not? It's me. Very different opinion on that racing than you do there. All right, let's see. We've got Breeders' Cup Saturday, late pick 5. It's races 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's Distaff, Turf, Classic, Turf Sprint, and the Sprint. You ready, buddy?
Oh, let's rock.
Riders up! Here we go, the first leg of the late pick 5, Saturday, November 4th at Santa Anita Park. Race 7, the $2 million Distaff, 11 fillies and mares, 3 and up, routing Mount Nathan on the main track. Where'd you go on top?
Woo! Let's start out with a little bit of a price. Give me the 3-horse. Pretty mischievous here, 8-1. As I kind of went through this race, I feel like there is quite a bit of speed here, so it's going to set up for someone to be able to come off the pace. And when I went through the closers, to me, 3 really jumped out, right? The 3 pretty mischievous, the 7 wet paint, the 9 Clairiere. I respect the heck out of Clairiere. I'm not going to use her here. And I'm guessing you probably are. I don't see your ticket yet in there, but she has the races good enough to win. I'm just wondering if she's a cut below some of the other horses that are in here, considering the style or the way that they are running right now. Pretty mischievous, I realize, doesn't have that banger of a race that jumps off the page. She did win the Kentucky Oaks, but the number wasn't there. I think she's going to get a nice trip here, and I think she's going to take a step forward. I like the 8-1 price. I think the setup is absolutely perfect for her. Love the draw with the 3 posts where she's going to be able to save ground and be able to make a run at the end. So I'm going to go with the 3 pretty mischievous on top. It's a lukewarm opinion, but I think she's got a big chance here at a nice price.
I used her as well. Not my top pick. I went 2 deep here, and I think we saw all year long that this was the most consistent 3-year-old filly, really, that we had. I mean, Maple Leaf Mel is the only horse that beat her on fast dirt all summer long, and Maple Leaf Mel could, very easily have won the filly mare sprint. She was just so fast. And I'm willing to forgive the slop last time out. Wasn't to her liking, that's fine. We're not going to have that at Santa Anita Park. Like you said, there's going to be pace to chase. And I think that she's got that correct running style to take full advantage of a pace meltdown. And you're right, yes, Clairiere is my other pick here, my top pick in here. Class wins out in the Distaff. That's one of the reasons I love Pretty Mischievous as well, right? She's got 4 wins this year. 3 of them are grade 1s. Like, say what you want about the test. It's a grade 1 win that she's got on her resume. Clairiere, 4-time grade 1 winner. This is her 3rd attempt at this race. 2 years ago, she lost by 3/4 of a length. She was 4th, but she was right there at the wire. Last year, broke Dr. Miranda and I's heart. She lost by a head. She is so talented, and she has so many clunkers at Saratoga that when I see that she didn't run well last time, I'm like, yeah, but it's Saratoga. Screw it. I don't care. Like, she's so bad at Saratoga sometimes and bounces right back in her next start. I'm going to use Kalleward here. One last start for the old gal. Let's get her out on top.
Yeah, I still have the pictures of that race on November 6, 2021 at Del Mar, where she ran fourth, and really that race collapsed, and Malathat or Kalleward should have won it. Neither of them could get to the front, and I just keep thinking about that and someone sniping her off, and I just...
They were 3! They were babies! She's 5 now. Maybe Malathat was 4.
That may not be a great thing, because yes, the last 2 were both at Saratoga. They were not great. She's got to find a way to rebound off those in a big way if she's going to be able to make some noise here. And I just feel like she's going to get bet to a point where I'm not interested in putting her on the ticket, and that was a big reason of why I didn't have her here. I am going to use Idiomatic, who I think is the speed of the speed. I would expect search results or randomized is going to go with her. I wouldn't be shocked if Hoosier Philly shows some pace from the rail. But there is a world where she gets loose. And if Idiomatic gets loose, she's very likely gone. She's going to be very tough up front if she's able to do it. So for me, it's really about how this pace plays out. I want to have horses coming from off it, but the only horse that could get loose in my mind, I don't see any way anybody but Idiomatic gets loose, right? I mean, Adair Manor could try and go, but Idiomatic's faster. Search results isn't going to get loose. Randomized isn't going to get loose. It's just Idiomatic. So if any of the speed horses, that's the only one I want. So 3 and the 4, Idiomatic and Pretty Mischief, the must uses. And I fell for it again, Magic. I fell for Wet Paint one more time. I'm gonna use the 7 Wet Paint here, who was hyped beyond belief as early in the 3-year-old campaign. She went into that Kentucky Oaks as your favorite, sub $2. She's actually been the favorite in every race except for one in her last 7. I love the setup for her here, and that to me is a big part of it. Flavian Pratt stays aboard. He knows the track well. If there is a pace collapse, this is the one that I think has the best chance to absolutely fly home and chase them down. I think Pretty Mischievous sits a little bit closer. I think Wet Paint's going to be out the back. But if I'm correct that this is going to be a fast pace, out the back isn't such a bad thing, even at Santa Anita. So I'm going to go 3-4-7 and see if we can get a price home here in the first leg.
I respect the Idiomatic use. I understand why. I think if one horse gets loose and takes this gate to wire, that's the one to do it. You didn't mention the one Hoosier Filly, who's got Luis Saez riding, and Timeform projects is just as fast right up there with Idiomatic and Adair Manor. Now, we haven't seen her always go to the lead, but she has done it. She almost won the Black Eyed Susan Gate to wire and then followed that up doing it at Ellis Park. So do you have any concern with especially a talented speed jockey on the rail horse here? And so now that's a 3-way battle up front.
I think that you're going to see Hoosier Filly, I'm going to say, defaults herself to the lead. She doesn't go for the lead. And so I think Hoosier Filly will break well. I think Idiomatic's just faster. And Hoosier Filly will be completely content with Saez aboard to sit in the pocket, right behind whatever type of speed develops. Adair Manor, another one that I think is going to go. So in my mind, what we see here is that Idiomatic goes, Adair Manor goes, Hoosier Filly pockets up behind them, and then you have search results and randomized kind of sitting in that second, 2 wide, 3 wide in that second group. And after the first turn, Adair Manor backs off of Idiomatic, and then either Idiomatic's able to slow it down enough to get loose, or it really sets up well for the horses coming from off it. So I respect the speed from Hoosier Filly, but I don't think it's lead speed from Hoosier Filly. I think it's tactical speed where she just wants to sit on the rail behind the pace setters, because I don't see a world where Hoosier Filly can take this field gate to wire. I don't think Saez does either. So I think it's a situation where you want to pocket up and then see if you can get first run, save ground both turns, and just have enough left to hold off those horses that are coming from the back.
Wet Paint, I understand I didn't fall for it, but you're getting 10-1, and you know that she's going to take back and make her run, and she's got Pratt back aboard, so reasons to like her there. None of us are touching Adair Manor for the same reason. I believe it's she's California speed. She's been beating 4 and 5 horse fields all year long, and when she faces bigger than a 5 horse field, well, she loses to Teddy's Barino. Who exactly?
Yeah, she's a takeout reducer in my mind here. Like, look. She's been phenomenal in California, but we've seen this story before. When these California fillies, even in California, take on the best from the East Coast, it doesn't go well for them, specifically the older groups. The younger groups, we have seen situations where the younger California fillies can be successful, but these fillies and mares, when they go 2 turns against the horses on the East Coast, they get destroyed. And I just don't see... First off, there's not a race on paper that makes Adair Manor a competitor in this, right? Every single number that you look at, Timeform or Buyer, doesn't put her with the top horses at the finish line. And I don't see any way you can project her to make a big jump forward with Pretty Mischievous or with Wet Paint. I could make an argument that they could take a step forward and run their career best race. I don't really see how you can make that argument with the Dare Manor, and she needs to do that to be able to win. If there was no speed in here, all right, we can talk about it. But she's not the fastest horse, and there are other speed in here. So for me, I don't know why she's 4-1. I do. It's the connections. It's the fact that she has won quite a few races in California. I wouldn't play her. I mean, I kind of agree with Christopher here. Like, she should be like 15-1. I mean, that is fair odds in my mind for a Dare Manor, not around 4-1, because she's got to improve to win this race.
Well, like you said, takeout reducer is how we're going to see her there. And I saw somebody ask about search results. I think she's got a good chance to hit the board. I think she sits a good pocket trip, and then the better closers get past her in the stretch. But that's our thoughts on the Distaff. Next up, race 8, the second leg of the late pick 5. This is the $4 million Breeders' Cup Turf. We have 12 males plus the mare, Warlike Goddess. My goodness, going a mile and a half, starting on the downhill turf course. Mike, save me here.
Yeah, I went shorter here. First off, glad we get the downhill turf course here. So we do get it, at least in a Breeders' Cup race. You get to see them cross, but it's not going to be overly effective on the overall results of the race. But we get to at least use the downhill turf course, which is nice. I'm going to be a chalk-eating weasel in this race. I kind of spun my wheels quite a bit. I wanted to use a couple long shots here, but I went back and watched replays, and man, August Rodin is really freaking good. I mean, this is a horse at 3 that has a wild amount of upside. It's an Aidan O'Brien horse coming over here. They clearly were targeting this race. They talked about how this horse is going to appreciate the firm going, that's going to be a positive. You take out the race 2 back where the horse was eased in a Grade 1 King George and really has done absolutely nothing wrong in the career. There was one other bad race, but that was off a layoff as well and just didn't really seem to like the going. Everything else, this horse has absolutely looked phenomenal. 6 wins and 9 career starts, 1 second place as well, and then those 2 off the board finishes that I think both were easily excusable. The other second place finish, by the way, came in the debut, so it's not like this horse has just been phenomenal since we were introduced to it. I think you're going to get a monster run from August Rodin here, so I've got the 5 on top. And then look, I mean, Mostahdaf has done absolutely nothing wrong. The horse looks phenomenal as well when you watch replays. To me, it's those two. If I was going to go any deeper here, I'd start looking at King of Steel. I'd start looking at Honesto. What jumped out to me when watching replays, and I love your take on this as well, Up to the Mark and Warlike Goddess are behind the 8 ball here. It's going to be tough for either of them to be able to win this race from the North American contingent.
It will, and I had no interest in Warlike Goddess before she got post 13 in this spot. But same top 2 horses for me. Flip them. I have Mostahdaf on top, but respect Auguste Rodin. Aidan O'Brien said this was his best athlete that he was bringing over in the entire group. Biggest concern for Mostahdaf for me, at this distance, a mile and a half, he's 0 for 4 on the turf. He does have a win at this distance on synthetic in a Group 2 or a Group 3, but the one kind of caveat there also, he was 0 for 4 at the distance on turf. He was always in like Group 1, Group 2 super elite company. So he was facing horses like Equinox. That's the only time that he's lost this year, as he faced Equinox, who literally broke the world record by almost a second for this distance. So there's nothing really to dislike about him other than that kind of glaring mark. But from replays, I thought Mostahdaf stood out just a little bit, but it's that much of a margin for me between these two. Who do you think goes off favored? Do you think it's going to be Rodin?
No, I think it's going to be Mostahdaf.
Okay.
I think Mostahdaf's going to be your favorite. I think Up to the Mark and Rodin are going to be that kind of co-second choice. And then King of Steel is going to go off as your 4th choice. And King of Steel, by the way, another one I would highly recommend people watch replays on. This horse is also very, very good. Has run very close to Rodin a couple times as well. So I would respect the heck out of King of Steel too, because I think that horse has a big shot. And honestly, like Honesto, the 2 horses, another one I'd watch. The replay 2 back, I mean, this horse got absolutely shut off, and I think was probably as good as Auguste Rodin that day as well. So I completely and wholeheartedly agree with Ed's comment here. It's the Europeans for me here, the 2, the 5, the 9, the 11, and that's not any groundbreaking analysis. The Europeans usually do well on the turf, but when you go back and you watch these replays, and then you compare it to what you've seen from Up to the Mark, you compare it to what you've seen from Warlike Goddess, who probably the best 2 shots for the North American contingent in here. It's going to take a career best effort to beat all 4 of these horses. And if one of them shows up with the A+ effort, I think that horse is your winner. I think it's, to me, it's a pretty clear structure here. The 5 and the 9 are the best 2 horses. We'll see if they're going to be best on this day, but they have the best body of work. When you watch the replays, they're the best 2 horses. The 11 to me has the most upside, and the 2 is also very good. And so there's a clear set of tiers for me here where, because of how deep I want to go in the next 2 races, I only went 2 deep here, but I wouldn't talk anyone off using the 11 or the 9 if you want to shrink down my classic, because I am going 6 deep in the classic.
2 and 11, you mean? The 9's most enough.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, the 2 and the 11. Yeah.
Good. I used both of them as well. King of Steel, third pick for me. And a big reason, Frankie Dettori rode him last out at Ascot, and it was the first time Dettori had been on him all year. And after that win, he was convinced. Look at the date, October 21st. This is a 3-year-old with huge upside as a 4-year-old. And he told these connections, these higher profile connections overseas, send him to the Breeders' Cup. I know he's lost to Auguste Rodin multiple times. Send him to the Breeders' Cup anyway. That to me is a huge sign of praise from Frankie Dettori. So I'm going to use him there. By the way, that win was against older horses and it was on yielding turf, but he does have the firm win back at Royal Ascot to kind of back up his form as well. As far as Onesto, he missed second by a nose in the Arc, and he's 8-1. And that kind of also speaks to the talent level of Auguste Rodin and Mostadov here in King of Steel. But this horse missed second by nose in the Arc, and the horse that beat him, world-class turf horse, would be a top contender for this turf race here. At age 3, won a Group 1 in France at the distance, and a Group 2 at a mile and 5/16. So I love that I'm getting these nice prices. I like this inner side post, although they're coming down the turf course, so it's really doesn't matter that much. Yeah, it's a little wonky, but I think the French have a good shot here with Onesto. And then just because this is the deepest leg that I had, it didn't really cost me much more to throw on Up to the Mark. And I'll tell you what, Chris Maiello, I don't know if Frank Mirambati is going to have his finger on the button for this, but if Up to the Mark wins this race, I bet you will hear Real American blasting from my cell phone as I'm celebrating because I had him on my ticket here. He is by far the best American, right? The fact that he came off of a super long layoff, rumor was he was broken and might not even make it to the race. Unideal distance at a mile, way too short for him. Catches a grade 1 winner at a mile, a very higher class horse who is, by the way, here at the Breeders' Cup in the mile with a good chance in Master of the Seas. Nothing was shaping up for him to win, and he won a grade 1 $1 million race at Keeneland on like the biggest day of the year that Keeneland has other than Bluegrass Day. So all of that adding up, along with the fact that, yes, he's 5-1, but it was only, I think, $18 to add him on my ticket. I've got to have him on there, Mike. I've loved what he's done this year too much to leave him off.
I hear you. I don't hate it. Well, we do have one comment in the chat here, and I think it's a pretty interesting one. Get Smoking, going to be out of the race.
Oh.
Who do you think sets the pace here?
Oh, boy. Well, that kind of changed. I mean, Bolshoi Ballet likes to be closer up. Mostadov and Auguste, I think, are going to be like mid-pack, and I think King of Steel will probably be right there with them as well. Frankie's going to want to keep them within his sight. Who do you think is leading?
I kind of defaulted to the 12 Balladeer, and maybe the 1 Cheyenne.
Yeah,
like those are the 2 that I would have next after King Smoking.
What about Pratt on Adamo? What if Pratt just goes, there is no pace, sends Adamo, and that son of a bitch wins the Breeders' Cup turf with Adamo?
I mean, we've seen more wild Chad Brown horses decide they want to go get the lead. I think it has to at least be referenced now because there really is not much pace left in this race. And I don't think Balladeer can wire the field. I think Balladeer is probably going to be your speed here. But wired, grade 2 at a mile and a quarter last time out. So at least worth mentioning that this is a paceless race now. And you could definitely do crazier things and try and just pick someone to go gate to wire here and take a huge price.
Well, see, here's the difference. You're getting a price on Victor Espinoza doing what he's supposed to do on a speed horse in a grade 1 or a big profile graded 6 race.
I knew you would immediately go after the jockey here. It is the fastest horse left on paper.
We ain't done picking on him either. We're coming back, Victor. Get ready. Burn Train's making another stop.
To be fair, I do not think anyone's going to go gate to wire in this race, but I do think it's a realistic comment from Ron here. Like, there is a pace issue here now because we do not have the 6, and you're going to see a slow pace. You're going to see a lone leader. We'll see what happens. Yeah, and that is true. United did take them a long way last time at the turf.
Don't you dare compare Balladeer to my beloved United.
Yeah.
But that was a good point. And that is the last time that the Americans had a great showing in this race, right? You had Bricks and Mortar catching United at the wire in the 29 turf. The Appleby had the top. Is it Nation's Pride? Who was that horse he had that year that was supposed to be superb and just completely fell apart? Didn't work out for him. Anyways, we'll move on. Third leg of the late pick 5 Saturday, November 4th at Santa Anita Park, the Breeders' Cup Classic. Yeah, middle leg. That's right. I said it. You have it's a field of 13 entered, scratched down to 12 because Archangelo, the rail horse, has retired. However, Mike, you're going like if 18 deep in the 12 horse field. I'd love to hear how that's going to work out for you.
Oh, I'm going 18 deep in a 12 horse field. I have a couple of these twice magic. I am going 6 deep. Yes, that's happening. And it is a lot because the more I dove into this, like I hate this draw for Arabian Night. And I was an Arabian Night fan. We talked about this leading up to it, that I thought that it was going to be a 2-year-old dominated race. Go Rocket Ride, obviously out. That changes it a little bit. The post draw for Arabian Night, that changes it quite a bit as well. The pace here is going to be fast. You're going to see the 6 and the 12 go. I don't think that Arabian Night can get the lone lead in this spot without using too much. And that to me is the key here, where I think Saudi Crown is going to set a fast early pace, and Arabian Night has to decide 2 things. Do I use early, right? Does Pratt go and say, I want to clear Saudi Crown? And if that's the case, you want to get the rail, you're going high 22s, low 23s to do that. That's going to make it hard to hold on. If he decides, I want to try and stalk outside, then all of a sudden Arabian Night's taken out of his game in the toughest field he's ever faced. And for me, the combination of those two makes it so that my opinion that Arabian Night was the best horse in this race has to adjust, because I don't like either of those 2 trips, which I think are the 2 most likely trips to happen. Yeah, sure, Saudi Crown can miss the break, he goes loose, that could happen too, but that's you can't handicap a missed break, right? So yeah. I'm gonna go 6 deep here because I like quite a few horses in this spot. I misput one of the numbers. I'm not using Zandon. Don't worry. I'm going to take Zandon out in a second. Give me the 11 Bright Future on top. 10-1 for the Todd Pletcher barn here. I realize this is a little bit of a pivot for me. I thought the Bright Future had a good chance in the mile had he gone there. I went back and watched that last race. I think there's a ton of upside still for Bright Future. And the 103 buyer last time out, they clearly think a lot of this horse, especially going long. The fact that they put it into Brooklyn, I thought was really interesting. Horse didn't run a lick there, but then they come back, they run it back in allowance. You get the 100 buyer. The horse looked phenomenal, jumps up into the Jockey Gold Cup, ends up winning that race. And the fact that they show the faith to send this horse into the Breeders' Cup Classic, I think is absolutely huge. I also love the trip that I project for Bright Future in this. We mentioned how Saudi Crown wants to go, how Arabian Night wants to go. After those 2, there's really not that much speed. There's not that many horses that want to be sitting right behind them. I think Bright Future just sits right behind them and gets first run and could be in front a very long time in the stretch. And it's whether or not, A, can he pass Arabian Night? I think Saudi Crown's going to hang it up around the turn. Can he pass Arabian Night, who's been too wide the entire race? And then B, can he hold off the closers? And like a 10-1, I'm willing to say yes to both those things for a horse that's clearly improving and a trainer that I think is getting aggressive with the placing, and that's a very good sign here.
I really like this horse in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, which way you said why they're showing faith sending him here. They got a free trip to come here. I don't know why they wouldn't use it. You've got a 4-year-old son of Curlin. There's similarities to a little bit to Vino Rosso in the sense that Vino Rosso was in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Should have won it. I think he was disqualified stupidly. Was that the one where he had that happen to him? But it ran impressively there. And then last race, end of his 4-year-old year, goes Breeders' Cup Classic at Santa Anita, wins it. Same owners, same trainer. Javier Castellano jumps off after the last 2, but he was Arcangelo's top jockey. Irad Ortiz Jr. not taking the mount back was a little interesting. And then you realize, White Barrio's in here, so that's why he's off of him. I don't hate the pick. I was a little surprised you put him on top, though. Where do you think he sits early? Because off of his, from a pace perspective, his best races, the last 2, he was a length off of it. And if he's a length off of Saudi Crown and Arabian Night, he's not making it past the quarter pole.
I think he sits, I honestly think the most likely scenario here is the 2 of them are 4 lengths in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anyone who wants to sit in that middle area. Maybe White Barrio wants to sit somewhere around there, but like there's not a ton of horses that are interested in going as fast as those two go. Now, maybe there's a world where the two of them decide we're going to slow it down together and make it a 2-horse battle. I guess that could happen, but like I think Arabian Night wants the lead, and I think that causes a real problem for Saudi Crown, heats up the pace, and I think Bright Future is able to sit, let's say, 5-6 off it. And maybe there's one horse in the middle there. And if that's the case and he gets first run, I think he's really, really dangerous. And yeah, I realize we're going to be further off the pace than we have before. I understand it's going to be a little bit of a new tactic. But if you go to some of the past races, I mean, he has sat further off the pace than just being a length off the pace, which we saw in the last two. So I think the trip is going to be good. And if they do decide, hey, we're going to slow it down, then that means he's going to be even closer to the two of them turning for home. And I don't mind that either, because the tactical speed I think is important. So we'll see if Johnny V can bring her home here at 10-1. And again, the price to me is the other part of this. Like you look at Way to Borrow at 4-1, I'm not overly excited. You look at Ushba Tesoro 4-1, I'm not overly excited. I am going to use both those horses. I think they both have a shot. But 10-1 on Dreamlike, that gets me going a little bit, get a little tingly.
I understand it. Good points. And again, you're gonna get the odds. I was curious what you thought what his running style would be, because if you look at his form, he's got to be close or he doesn't win, and when he's not close, he just kind of falls off. But I did make Arabian Night my top pick in here. I considered singling him. I really did. I'm worried Saudi Crown is just going to cook him. Now, listening to Bob Baffert, and it's trainer speak, so take it as you will, but with Arabian Night, he said if he shows up with his A game, I don't care what post he breaks from, they're not touching him. So that tells me Arabian Night's probably feeling pretty good right now. And we know the history. Bob Baffert only wins the Classic with 3-year-olds. The only 3-year-olds to win the Classic are Bob Baffert's. So you've got that here in spades with Arabian Night. You're getting Flavian Pratt keeping the mount after the Pacific Classic. Baffert also said one of the problems with the Haskell was that he couldn't get him to rate on the backside. And you remember that he got caught up in that stupid like 50-1 pace duel, and it cooked him out, and he didn't have anything left. They said for the Pacific Classic, Pratt was able to get him to relax more on the backside. He didn't have a Saudi Crown in there, and that's the issue. That's the new thing, right? And that's why I didn't single here, but I did put him on top.
You're not in a speed duel.
Yeah. Maybe he can get him to track off of it. If you suddenly saw Arabian Night, by the way, only 4 career starts. We haven't had a real chance to see this horse try to rate off of somebody on the outside. He was on the inside, I think, when he was in the Haskell. So maybe that happens here with Saudi Crown. I have no faith in Saudi Crown getting the mount a quarter against this group, so didn't touch him on my ticket. The other one that I'm using White Barrio, man, because of what you said. The only horse who possibly sits in that middle group, kind of like, there's the 2 leaders, and then there's another horse, and maybe some Dermot Sotogake is a long shot's kind of hanging around up there because he broke well for once. But then you've got White Barrio, and you've got a gap, and you got Bright Future and everybody else, and Buscador is going to come up late for 4th, but that's where I see White Barrio. And if you look at, where is it? Somebody said it in here. If you forget the pre-Dutro White Barrio, he's almost a single in this race because of how he won the Whitney, which is a race that produces classic winners and top classic horses. I heard John White on the Steve Bick show talking about the fact that the thorograph number that White Barrio got, the -6 for winning the Whitney, is the same thorograph number Flightline got for winning the Classic. So it's not just that the buyer was like, hey, this is really a great performance and overblew it. No, Thorograph agreed as well. And so when those two are in agreement, I don't know who I want this to win more, Mike, Bob Baffert or Rick Dutrow. I just, pick one out of the hat. That's all my best friends.
Yeah, it's all your best friends. I love White Barrio. We've talked about this horse a lot. It was on the team last year. It's on the belt there. C2 Racing, good dudes. So I appreciate them as well. And so to me, I'd rather see White Barrio win it than Bobby B. And this one, again, to me, like this race, I think is wide open. I'm using White Barrio as well. That Whitney was absolutely phenomenal. It's hard to leave the horse off after seeing something like that. And I am going to use Arabian Night because I do think that there's a world where Arabian Night is just the best horse of this group, right? Because this is, to me, a very wide open race. And had Arabian Night drawn the 3 post, I would have probably been singling Arabian Night. If he had drawn inside of Saudi Crown, I probably would have singled Arabian Night because I think they would have tried to rate Saudi Crown. I really do. I mean, I know someone in the chat, it's a little up here before, but said, hey, watch the first race, Saudi Crown and rate. I know he can. I think they would have tried if it was on the inside, but if he was on the outside. But unfortunately, he's on the inside. And I think it's a lot harder to rate from the inside. Because if you think up that trip, okay, so you're going to let Arabian Night clear, and then you're going to swing too wide on the first turn and then chase him around the track. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster, right? So I don't see that being the strategy here. I'm going to use Ushpa Tesoro too, and this is one where we talked about those horses sitting in that next pack. Ushpa Tesoro probably going to be behind Bright Future. I think this horse could be legit. I mean, we've seen this horse be able to have success in Japan. We've seen this horse have success in Saudi Arabia as well. If this thing starts to fall apart a little bit, Ushpa Tesoro has to be a player here, right? Because he has the talent. Now, I know you're going to tell me about the gate issues that he's had, and that's obviously a big concern with what's happened since he got to America. I mean, he spent 10 minutes trying to go into the gate earlier this week for a workout, but there was never any of that trouble any other race. And so you kind of wonder if it was just something about the racetrack that day, if it was something about the workout style, what was going on, the new surroundings, whatever it was. But this isn't a horse that's ever had trouble getting in the gate or getting out of the gate. And so I'm not going to just assume because there was one issue on a certain Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever it was at Santa Anita that on a race day.
Today's Wednesday.
Whatever. It could have been last week. That on a race day, this horse is just not going to be able to get out of the gate. So I respect Ushpa Tesoro quite a bit. I'm going to include the 8 as well. So far, I'm 2, 3, 10, 11, and 12. Are you going any deeper, or are you already done, Magic?
No, just the 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'll talk about Ushpa. Can I talk about Ushpa Tesoro real quick? I'll reference because I have an update for you. But Monday morning was the issue. Spent about 8-10 minutes trying to school at the gate with him at the 7 furlong shoot, and it did not go well at all. So they brought him back today, this morning. They did it before the sun came up, which was smart because it was really hard for us to see if something was going bad. But he wasn't perfect, but he was much better back there. So you'll probably see him do it one more time with him tomorrow or Friday just to get him used to it again. But part of the issue is that we've heard this before. The American stalls are just slightly narrower than what the international stalls are, which is just makes maybe because it's metric versus the like feet and inches when they design it. I don't know.
Because horse racing is dumb, but that's okay.
It's also. I mean, I was trying to. There's no dumber reason than it's horse racing. But it is just a big horse. He's massive. He's 6 years old. He's very well filled out, and so he was having problems getting in there and feeling claustrophobic. And I get it. I understand. So, but I thought he looked a lot better. And the way he's trained, Mike, just seeing him on the track, he's just a hulking specimen. He's so beautiful when he moves. So I'm not going to be, well, if I lose out on a big, huge cash on this, I'm going to be upset. But if he wins, it wouldn't be a huge surprise.
No, I don't think it would be. I don't think it should be. And we've seen these Japanese horses do very well all over the world, including at the Breeders' Cup a couple years back. So I think you have to respect Ushpa Tesoro. Don't respect Dermisota Gate. That's okay if you don't want to, because he hasn't run since the Derby. I still am shocked this horse is in this race. 2 others I'm using. I'm going full pace collapse here in case this thing just turns into a shit show because Arabian Night and Saudi Crown go, and then all of a sudden White Abario and Dreamlike or Bright Future decide they want to both be right there at the pace, and this thing cooks up, and all of a sudden you got 2 horses just flying from the back. And that would be the 9 Senor Buscador and the 10 Dreamlike. So I'm going to use both of these at 30-1 here to try and get a absolutely monster price here in the Classic, because there is a world where they are both very, very relevant when it comes to the final wire. Dreamlike last time at Parks, I thought ran really well in the Parks Derby, especially considering Saudi Crown had that race his own way the entire time around on a speed favoring track. The fact that Dreamlike was still able to close from 7 lengths back in 9th and just missed by a half length, I thought was very impressive. Ir Miracolo, who runs 3rd in that race, came back and ran well last weekend, so that kind of flatters that race as well. I think Dreamlike is going to be chugging. I actually don't think Dreamlike's going to be 30-1 when they break from the gate, but I'll give Dreamlike a chance here. And then Senor Buscador, yeah, I get it. It's Senor Buscador. Ha, ha, ha. Guess what? He ran really well in the San Diego to win. Beat Slowdown Andy that day. Ran well against Arabian Night, Go Rocket Ride, and Slowdown Andy in the Grade 1 Pacific Classic. I thought ran okay considering what the setup was in the Awesome Again. With a faster setup, going the 1.25 miles, I'm hoping Senor Buscador can clip him late here. And I'm going 6 deep. So I'm willing to take a couple shots here at 30-1s.
Listen, you're taking shots with 31, so I won't tell you that they're bad. I don't see the pace collapsing enough to get those horses to get up there at 1.25 miles. Not in the Classic. If this was like the Big Cap or the Hollywood Gold Cup or something like that, sure, but not in this race.
Let me reframe this
yeah.
too. If Arabian Night is a good but not great horse. This is a pretty weak field, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's just
With the war of attrition, no Arcangelo, no Practical Move, no Forte, no Mage, National Treasures in the Dirt Mile.
I mean, this isn't world beaters here. And if Arabian Night isn't that, if he isn't that guy, and we don't know yet, he could be. We don't know yet, though. But if he isn't that guy, I am not scared of a single horse in this race, which means that any horse has a chance to win this race if you go from that perspective. If Arcangelo was in this, I would not be 6 deep because Arcangelo covers Senor Buscador, Dreamlike, right? Like, he gets the trip, he beats those horses. But without Arcangelo in here, like, if it collapses, Zandon's the horse I have to beat, right? Like, so for me, this is just, I don't, if you're a little hesitant to say White Barrio is as good as he's been in the last 2 races, which I am, and you're a little hesitant to say Arabian Night is a superstar, which I am, this race is wide open.
A lot of people talking about Proxy. Proxy to me is an automatic pass in every single grade 1 that he's ever been in. And the only time I was wrong, he beat barely West Willpower. And Folsom was 3rd in that race. Last Samurai, who just, magically popped him for a couple of races in the spring and then disappeared again. Proxy's a Johnny Tryhard. And, he's racked up to almost $2.25 million at this point. It's a great horse.
Yep.
I don't think he's winning the Breeders' Cup Classic.
What buyer do you think wins this race?
Oh, well, it's the Classic. 1-0, meaning it might probably be inflated. You know what? Maybe like a 108.
How many horses do you think have run a 108?
Is it just a Barrio?
It's just a Barrio.
Okay.
Back to, hey, this field may not be that good.
Yeah. Well, so another argument I have for Arabian Night is we've said for all summer and into the fall, the 3-year-olds are better than the older horses.
Agreed.
This is the best 3-year-old that's left.
Yeah. If Arabian Night drew inside a Soggy Crown, there's a real chance I'm singling Arabian Night and not having a big bet on Arabian Night in the BCBC because of this is where we drew. This to me is a take your shots race now because it really messed up the flow of it. And I know people commenting 108, 106, like it's 110 from White Barrio, 106 from White Barrio, and then we're like at 103. It's a pretty significant drop. And like Arabian, and I realize, buyers aren't end all be all, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is just the only way you should handicap, but every single horse in this field would have to improve unless Duckman is right and it's the slowest classic ever. Every single horse in this field would have to improve except for White Barrio to be able to win the race. And you have to kind of keep that in mind, right? Where like, if you're looking for a middling 100, man, it's got to be, there's not that many out there. I mean, Saudi Crown's 105, I think is the 3rd highest buyer in this field. So, to me, it makes it very, very difficult to say, yes, this is a slam dunk race because rarely do you have to project improvement for every horse that you're going to make an argument for in the Breeders' Cup Classic to win.
It's just crazy. Yeah, White Barrow's in a 7 furlong allowance. Hey, listen, Nick's Go was at Prairie Meadows 1 or 2 starts before the Classic, okay? Listen,
but
you come from all over.
Nick's Go also had like an absolute amazing body of work going into that race, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm not even going to say what
Let's
you
just see how good that body looks, shall we? He's sitting right here for us.
Hey, remember that time we got 3-1 on Nick's Go in the Classic?
Mike Somich remembers. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Mike, we still got 2 races to go. This is the problem with having the Classic as the middle race here. We got 2 more. The penultimate take a drink leg of the late pick 5 at the Breeders' Cup on Saturday, November 4th. This is the Turf Sprint. It's $1 million purse. Race 10, 12 males and females 3 and up, and 4 also eligibles trying to get in here. I ended up going 3 deep here, and I was a little surprised with a couple of the horses that I ended up going with. Where'd you go on top?
I've been talking about this horse for a while. Give me Live in the Dream as the top pick here. The 5-horse, 9-2 morning line. I think this is your speed of the speed. I think the 5 furlongs makes all the difference in the world. And I think someone smacked Kareen on the side of the head after that Keeneland race and said, hey, buddy, you don't need to go 20-43 and to get the lead here. You can go a little bit slower, and then you'll have something left in the tank late. I love the setup here. I think that the 5 is easily able to clear Caravel, which makes Caravel's race a lot more difficult in this spot. To me, this is a 5 shot at going wire to wire. Give me Living the Dream on top.
Not my top pick, but did make the ticket. And I thought I was going to be against this horse because of that Keeneland race. And then I suddenly hit me. We're going 5 furlongs. Mm-hmm. That was 5.5 furlong race. I went back and watched. Mm-hmm. He was still clear at the 8th pole. That last half furlong, it got him, Mike. So, yeah. You've got to hope that both he and his jockey, who's retaining but is international, you got to hope that they learn from that. I like to, rewatching the replay, he broke from post 2, so he had like 10 horses to his outside. And he wasn't straight out of the gate on that, but he rushed up. He wasn't intimidated, and he had to deal with some stupid pace pressure by a horse that finished last, and it wasn't close to the next horse. So all good things for Living the Dream. And you got to like that he finished 4th there because we're getting 9-2 on him here. You wouldn't get anything close to that. My top pick might be fighting with him for superiority on the front end. And I'm not putting him on just because of the name, but give me number 7, No Balls. You got no balls if you don't have no balls on your ticket. He's got the early speed. He's got class. He's drawn outside of Living the Dream, so he can play the break very well. He's proven in these American-based turf sprints, which is kind of an edge up on Living the Dream. Living the Dream wasn't terrible, but no balls is proven on this stage here.
Is he?
He is! It's no balls!
He won 1 race at 38-1, and he has not been proven since then. He hasn't beaten anybody.
And then he won an Indiana Grand, and then he missed. He got caught. He got caught at 5.5. We're going 5. He got caught late at 5.5 by Cockburn on soft ground, and then he came back and he won last out at Colonial. Colonial is one of the finer turf courses in America, Mike. Definitely better than Churchill.
Yeah, and who did he beat last time out?
He beat Super Quest, the All-American Super Quest.
Yeah, so your argument is he looked really good winning overnight stakes, and now he's in the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
My argument is he is flipping fast, and he breaks well, and they're going 5 furlongs, and you're going to have to be really fast to even keep up with him.
Well, he's not the fastest horse in the race, though.
We'll see. Who are you going with elsewhere?
Second pick, give me the inside. I can't believe we're getting 15-1 on Big Invasion. Look, this is a horse which has been very, very good for a long time, but never seemed to be able to get the big win home. Ran well in the Jaipur, lost to Caravel earlier this year. Came back at Saratoga, looked okay, but I thought the last race was very, very good. You could say, oh, well, the 6 furlongs. He wins at 1 at 6. We're going 5. 6 for 9 at 5 furlongs. This horse loves the 5 furlong distance, has tactical speed. I actually really like the inside draw because I don't think we're going to get shuffled back with that tactical speed. Don't screw me, Joel. This is do not mess with this ride. Just send him up with that early rush and hold the rail so you don't have to weave through traffic. That's the big key here is, will Joel mess this up? He had a really nice
that was in the chat. Will Joel Rosario mess up the ride on Big Invasion?
He had a really nice ride last week. There was one that I got 2 texts from people saying, hey, did you see that Joel ride? I said, yes, I did. It was phenomenal. Do it again next Saturday. The price here is right. I think Big Invasion has a big shot in here. Has tactical speed. There's enough speed in here where if you do see horses like Living the Dream and No Balls come back, Caravel come back, Big Invasion will be rolling. And the inside post, it is a good thing at Santa Anita. You talked about this. The 1 and 2 posts at Santa Anita and Turf Sprints dominated that course for quite a while. So we're hoping we can get something going here with Big Invasion with the 15-1 price. Every now and then, he is an elite jockey. Let's do it here in the Turf Sprint, baby.
Oh, honey. That's okay. Good to have Shadi in the chat. No, I didn't. I did consider this horse. I think it's just too deep to use him here, but he is. I mean, we've liked this horse for a long time as a turf sprinter. You didn't have No Balls on your ticket, I'm guessing?
No, I left him off.
Okay, that's fine. For me, the next one, I went 3 deep. I'll talk about the last one. I drafted him. I do like him. The 11, Jasper Krone, 12-1 for the Japanese contingent. Possesses quick early speed. If you watch his replays, he's outside of the 5 and the 7. The jockey can play the break, see what he wants to do. Won 4 of 6 turf sprints in Japan this year, including 2 different times in a $500,000 stakes races. Both of those were over firm going. It was nice to see how well he did on that. Last time out, he was a pretty good 4th of 16 by 2 lengths. Is a $2.2 million Group 1 race. That's the Japanese equivalent of this race. And he was 4th. He was very close in that spot. So if one of the top turf sprinters from Japan comes over here, I'm going to give him a shot at 12-1.
I I mean, I'm not going to talk you off it, so I'm not going to knock it. I don't like this horse as much as you do, but I understand why you do. For me, the next one was the 2 Brad Cell. There's another one coming over from Europe. If you go back, you watch the replays, this horse has been prominent or mid-pack the vast majority of his career, so should have some tactical speed. Ran really well 2 back behind Live in the Dream. Is going to need to get the trip here and need to be able to close in on the speed. But I think Brad Cell's the European horse that's going to get a little bit underrated here in this spot. So I'll take a little bit of piece of the 2.
Yeah, I looked at this horse. I would like it better if we had Holly Doyle ride it. I know that she's gotten herself in some trouble, so she got a riding suspension. And our man on the seat, you weren't with Aaron and I when we had the post draw initially for this race. We had an expert in the UK, Luke Rawson, I believe, who was giving us information on a lot of the horses and jockeys, and he said this is an absolutely terrible jockey booking. So I was like, all right. That guy knows a lot more about the jockeys over there that aren't named Ryan Moore and Frankie Dettori than me. So, yeah, I'll listen to him here. I do know that Holly Doyle is fantastic and a world-class rider. And it is sad that she didn't be able to get the Breeders' Cup this year.
Yeah, it is a bummer. I would have been nice to see her in there. I'm going to go use 2 other horses in here. I'm going to end up 5 deep in this spot, which means I'm singling next leg, buddy. Give me Rose for Deborah. The other Christophe Clement horse draws the 9 post. I know the barn is super high on this horse. They think the world of her. I'm sorry. They think the world of him. No, her, yeah, Rose for Deborah. They think the world of her. The race 2 back at Saratoga, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. She's stepping up in class big time. That's the one real concern here. But if she's able to continue to kind of come into form and she's able to replicate that race 2 back, she's got tactical speed. She should be able to stalk. I think she's got a big shot here. And then it seems like every time we're in California, specifically at Santa Anita, California horses matter. That means Tony Ann or Motorius are going to be part of this. I love Tony Ann. I know the barn loves Tony Ann. There's not a race on paper where Tony Ann's competitive with this field, but there is with Motorius. So I'll go with the 10-horse Motorius on the ticket as well.
Motorius was the last one off for me. I thought 5 furlongs wasn't his best game, and that's why. If this was the original turf sprint down the hill, 6.5 furlongs, hell yeah, he's on the ticket. This horse loves that course. So I do like the Pratt's picking up the mount. I probably would have wanted better than 5-1, but I think this horse's price will creep up a little bit because of Bradsell, because of Caravel, because of Living the Dream. Even maybe, no, I don't think Jesper Quine is going to take much attention, but there are enough horses that maybe you get a little bit better price on it, especially when it comes to the multis, Mike.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. And this is like notoriously a race people go deep in. So I think you are going to see people spread. I do think Arzark gets some love as well. I don't love him from the 12 post. I think that's a tough draw. But I we'll see what this ends up from a price perspective. Based on the morning line, I mean, you can see how wide open it is. You got 3 5-1s and a 9-2 as your co-4 favorites, essentially.
All right, here we go. The 5th and final leg of the late pick 5 at the Breeders' Cup on Saturday, November 4th, race 11. It's the sprint, a race that's always shows up with a great effort, even if we only had 9 horses hit the entry box here. But you've got at least 4 great horses in this spot. 6 furlongs, $2 million purse, 9 males, 3 and up. Top pick, a.k.a. Yo Single.
Yep. Single me up to Speedboat Beach, baby. I've been talking about this horse for, I don't know, a month, and the draw comes out, the past performances come out, and everything that I felt just kind of got validated. I realize it's very hard to go gate to wire in the sprint. It's one of the trends that Jared says, do not play speed horses. This is the first time we're going to have a lone speed horse in the sprint. The more I dive into it, the more I think Speedboat Beach is gone. I mean, Dr. Scheibel and Gunite are the 2 horses that have speed in here outside of Speedboat Beach. Dr. Scheibel doesn't want the lead. He's going to pocket up. Gunite will defer. We've seen it consistently happen. Will defer if he's outside speed. I think Speedboat Beach gets loose, and wires this field, and I don't think it's going to be even that close. I mean, to me, it's the 4 outside horses that have a shot here. I think Speedboat Beach is the one that gets loose and goes. And so single me up to a 3-1 shot. Second choice on the board, Speedboat Beach to close this out.
Listen, I went into this going, I truly am a firm believer in the 14 trends to a point. Like, I really put a lot of stock into it. It doesn't automatically dictate how I bet, but the 14 trends, some of them are very, very strong, including this angle here. Only twice, I think, in the last 20 years, this is it's gone gate to wire. I think you might be right. I think we might have a third time, Mike. I put him on my ticket, the very last horse to go on my ticket initially when I looked at this, and then I added up to the market very late in the game. But second off of a long layoff, off of a race that he very clearly should have won by open links, you switch to a better jockey. Rodney, I love Rodney's enthusiasm. I can't keep putting your comments. I don't know how they're getting through. I need to change the filter on the YouTube comment section. Rodney's getting through with a lot of interesting words here. But no, he loves Speedboat Beach. You love Speedboat Beach. I'm going to use him here. I can't single him like the two of you were doing because I just don't know that Mike Smith is going to do exactly what he's supposed to do. I want to say he will, and I believe it enough to use him. But if he doesn't, if he somehow lets some other horse get out to the lead or gets sucked into a pace duel, I'm afraid he's going to get cooked late. And I think it sets up well for Elite Power, who's going to be coming from off the pace. He's got the sharpest turn of foot at 6 furlongs on dirt in the world. Yep. And I think the Gun Knight is going to be right behind that pace and get first run. And we saw last time out, granted it was 7 furlongs, which is better for Gun Knight than Elite Power. Gun Knight can beat Elite Power and hold him off. And those horses, remember that they've shown up against each other so many times this year. You don't think Gun Knight remembers? Like, I beat you, I'm going to keep you back behind me again here. So I went 7, 8, 9 here. It's chalking out, but I think these are very clearly the 3 best horses in this race. It's just a matter of how does the pace play? We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I was 7, 9, 8, 6 for my top 4. So I agree with you on the top 3. But I just
top 4, we agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think Speedboat Beach has the advantage early here, and I think the Classic is wildly difficult. I think the Turf Sprint could reduce a price. I want to spread a little bit in the first race. You got to single somewhere, and to me, this was my biggest opinion in the 5 races.
Let's talk about the 6 real quick here, the Chosen Braun, because I have been impressed with how he's looked, and he did beat Dr. Scheibel, who beat Speedboat Beach last time out, so he loves Santa Anita, he loves this distance, and I saw Kim ask earlier, he looked great this morning. He's a beautiful looking horse. He loves to go out there and train and do his job. I'm not scared of him in the sense of winning. I'm just worried that from a pace perspective, he might screw things up front or cause some traffic trouble for Gun Knight maybe.
Yeah, maybe for Gun Knight. I think he's going to sit behind Speedboat Beach. I respect him. I think this is just a cut above where he can compete.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to talk about Saturday's Breeders' Cup Late Pick 5. That's races 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, Distaff Turf Classics, Turf Sprint, and the Sprint. If you are listening in the audio, we will give out our tickets one last time. If you're watching us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, thanks for joining us. Hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got all sorts of Breeders' Cup coverage coming throughout the week and weekend, and we'll be live several times throughout, so hit the notification bell as well. Here are our tickets. We both have $90 tickets for 50 cents, just structured a little differently. I'll go first. I've got 3-9 with 2-5, 8-9, 11, 3-12, 5-7, 11, and close out 7-8-9. Mr. Somich.
I'm going to play a 50-cent ticket. Give me 3-4-7 with 5-9 with 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with 1, 2, 5, 9, 10, and single to 7 to get her home for $90.
Rodney asked, did Inspo give you Naval vibes? I haven't seen her up close, so not yet, but Frankie Dettori was aboard her when she was on the turf course this morning, and she was the very first horse out there. So that to me said a lot. And King of Steel was right behind them, and the fact that Dettori was on Inspiral, yeah, you gotta like that. We'll see. Shai's gonna see everybody but me tomorrow. I will see everybody Friday. If you're gonna be at the Breeders' Cup, we would love to see you. Let us know if you're gonna be there. Send us an email, contact@Racing Dudes. Hit up the corporate overlords at @racing_dudes on Twitter or on Facebook. Let us know you're there. We'd love to meet you, take a picture, hang out, have a drink, talk horses, and hopefully cash some bets with you. So we'd love to see that. I know you got to get out of here, Mike. Any final thoughts before we go?
I am as excited for this Breeders' Cup as I have been in years. Like this, I cannot wait for these 2 days of races. Phenomenal betting card. To me, this is going to be a lot of fun. We get some stars, but we don't have those just bad betting races because of it. This is going to be an absolute blast. Can't wait to be out there on Friday.
Rodney's going to be there. That's exciting. Rodney, I want to meet you, man. Real excited to meet you if you're there, if you want to. So I won't pressure you. Rodney's like, I'm going to be there, but I don't want to see magic. Y'all can suck that. Ed asked, are we live this weekend? We'll be live Thursday night covering Friday's races, Friday night covering Saturday's races, maybe Saturday night. That's usually the wild card. How are we feeling and how drunk do we feel like we need to get? So that's the question. And then Shadi's going to be there. She's going to be handling a lot of social stuff for us, posting little quick videos to the YouTube channel, on Instagram, on the TikTok. We have a TikTok now. This is what happens when you bring in somebody that knows what the hell a TikTok is. So yeah, I know. I don't even have a TikTok. Follow the Racing Dudes TikTok, and we'll have Shadi's going to be running that this weekend. Lots of great exclusive content going to be over there. And then I saw one last thing. Oh, yes. Speaking of Shadi, Shadi, that we all know is the biggest fan in the world of practical moves, she made a video this morning, and I encouraged her to post it. So it's on the YouTube channel. So go take a look. It's a minute and a half. Nice little tribute from Shadi, the biggest fan of practical moves. So on that note, take that look. We'll do some bull shots this week. Good luck, everybody. Any other thoughts, Mike?
Nope.
Oh, Aaron's show, Dudes Who Bet Sports. They're coming up live here in just a few minutes. So completely change of pace. Instead of Breeders' Cup, we're going to talk college football and NFL. So you got your football done. We'll see you for that. Until Thursday for the next Racing Dudes thing, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you at the Breeders' Cup.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.